Wurm Online can be a daunting game to get started in. As with most sandbox games, when you first enter the game world, you have countless decisions to make and things to learn. I'm Bloody Drongo, and this video is going to take you through how to get started in Wurm Online, specifically going step by step how to complete the quests given by the NPCs in New Dawn for their special rewards. If you've elected to skip your time on the guidance server and go straight for the main servers, you'll still be able to follow along, just disregard any server or quest specific instructions. This video assumes you've already completed the in-game tutorial and familiar with some of the basic mechanics covered in our tutorial video. Check the description for the playlist if you have not watched our video on the tutorial first. At the end of our last video, you went to the Artisan and the Survivalist to accept all currently available quests. Before we leave town and venture into the wilderness, just a reminder to swing by the bartender and fill up our food and water. You can return here at any time for a refill if you need it. As we navigate the game world, we'll want to refer to the in-game map. While this doesn't show our current location, you can see New Dawn's location and use your compass and world landmarks to help make your way around. With the compass, you'll notice that it will stop showing a direction while you're moving. To get it to show again, you'll need to stop moving and wait for it to settle. Hovering over the compass UI element will show you how much time until the compass settles. As you move away from New Dawn, you'll notice that there is a pillar of light emanating from it up into the sky. This is visible from most places on the server to help give you a general orientation and a major landmark to navigate by. Moving across various tiles of terrain, you'll notice that your speed will change depending on the tile type that you're walking on. Walking on paved surfaces is fastest, and you can also unequip your armor to move even faster. Just don't forget to put it back on before you head into a fight. If at any stage you find a donkey, make sure to activate your rope and lead it to bring it with you. Donkeys can be ridden by right-clicking on them once, leading them, and selecting Ride. We'll cover mounts in depth in a future video, but for the moment all you need to know is that while mounted, you will fight better and you will also move faster over some terrains. While the hunting season quest only makes note of butchering rats or mountain lions for their meat and pelt, you should also keep an eye out for wildcats or dogs, as these both produce pelts and meat that will satisfy the requirements for this quest. If you have trouble finding one, I personally recommend heading north of New Dawn to this step. It often has spawns there, and the increased sight lines should make them easier to spot. Once you've located your prey, make sure you have your sword and shield equipped along with your armor. Then right-click and target the creature to make sure you'll attack against the right thing. Once combat begins, you'll notice a new tab open up in your event window. This will give you specific information about what is happening in the fight. Also, you will see that your combat windows will open up with more information. For the moment, I recommend you press this button here to enter the normal combat stance. This is a balance between defensive and aggressive and is probably the fight style that you should focus on first. These other options here you can disregard for the moment, but we will cover them in our specific fighting tutorial video. For the moment, there are a few basic principles you need to know. Number 1, high ground matters in combat. Whether you're on a mount or just standing on some higher terrain, being higher will mean you perform better. 2, if you've been hit in combat, you'll have been given the hurting status, which will slow your movement speed temporarily. 3, combat is mostly passive. You'll be standing there waiting for combat to resolve. This is normal. Once your creature is dead, you'll want to activate your butcher knife. Right-click on the corpse and select Butcher. Once you've butchered a creature, all of the butchered products will appear inside the corpse. You will be able to see in your event tab what you've produced and what you've failed. Right-click and select Open to take what you've butchered. We've now fulfilled our quest requirements, and we'll return to the Survivalist later to turn these in. When we're choosing a spot to call our own, there's a few specific things that, whilst aren't mandatory, will make your life easier as a new player that you should look out for. Number 1, easy access to water. It's very useful to save time for crafting and drinking, And don't worry, even salty water is safe to drink. Number 2, exposed rock. Nearby cliffs and areas of rock will make getting your first mine much easier, which you will need for stone and ores in the future. Number 3, existing flat ground. Whilst you can terraform the ground in Wurm Online, this is a little more advanced and is limited by your digging skill. So starting somewhere with at least some flattish land is preferred so you can start building and farming sooner. Number 4, plenty of trees nearby. You'll need wood for making houses, tools, as fuel, and all kinds of other things. Number 5, clay tiles. These are a super convenient resource that is commonly found in coastal areas. While locations with this are often snapped up first, if you can locate some to be close by, it'll be very helpful. Finally, number 6, your neighbors. Try not to settle right on top of other players. Leave a little gap where possible as a courtesy, and if there's signs around asking you to not cut certain trees or dig in certain places, take note of that. Once you've found a spot that you're happy with, make sure to drop the tent you've started with in your inventory. This will act as a temporary spawn point should you die and lets you store some items inside it as well. Now, let's get to work. The first thing we're going to do is open our tool belt from our hotbar, then drag our hatchet and any other tools we want easy access to. Anything we have in our tool belt, we can use as if it were activated at any time without additional clicking. It's important to note with our journal tasks that you will need to do each step before the next becomes available to be completed. So ensure that you have put your hatchet in your tool belt so that we can progress the quest. Once we put our hatchet into our tool belt, we're going to cut down a tree to produce a felled tree. It's important to note that fruit trees and bushes will not produce felled trees, only small weight logs which are not useful right now. Additionally, if a lumber tree is too young or too old, it will only produce a single log. You can examine trees to see their approximate age, and you generally want to avoid ones that show young or shriveled when examined. Once we've gotten ourselves some logs, we will then start crafting by opening the crafting interface from our quickbar. Most things in Wurm are created by using 2 items together, which is what this window does. Each of these windows here represents one of the 2 items you're trying to combine to craft. For example, we'll be making shafts to start with, which are created by using a carving knife on a log. We will click and drag these into these windows to use them together. You will know when this has worked when the right side of the window populates with the possible items that we can create with this combination and our current percentage chance of creating that item. Simply click on the item you wish to produce. Once it's highlighted blue, you then can select create. You can change the number of items you'll queue up to produce by using these buttons here. As a new character, the most number of actions you can queue is 3. As your character increases their mind logic, you will be able to queue up more actions. You will notice that each shaft you create reduces the weight of the log. Once this weight reaches 0, it will be used up fully. You will also have wood scraps. These can be used to make useful fuel for a fire. Once you have 3 shafts, you are then ready to make a mallet head. Drag the shaft into the crafting menu to replace the log to populate a new list of items that can be created by using the carving knife on the shaft. From here, we will create 1 mallet head. Once we have a mallet head, you'll want to activate it in your inventory and right click on one of your 1 kg weight shafts and create a mallet. It's worth noting that all crafting actions can be completed from your inventory using this right-click method, but especially for bulk items, the crafting menu is much more user-friendly. As an important side note for now as well, if you want to look up recipes to see how to make specific items, you can click on this button here in the crafting menu to search throughout every craftable item in the game. Once we've made our first mallet, we then need to find some iron since many of the tools in Wurm are made from metal. If you have exposed rock cliffs near you or an existing mine, you can head to those to check them out. Alternatively, you can start looking around for resource nodes such as mineral debris or rubble. Resource nodes like this will spawn randomly over time. Using the foraging action on these nodes will give you random items from a list of possible yields, depending on the node type. You can see the possible yields from a node by using the lore option. Once foraged, they will disappear. You could try and make your own cave, but be warned, this is a very time-consuming process at this early stage. But if you really want to, you can do this by finding a rock tile, then using the tunnel action on it. Once you've created a tunnel entrance, you can mine each of the cave walls, taking approximately another 50 actions to break each until you find an iron vein. This will require more effort, but long term this will provide a greater quantity and much more reliable resources. We'll cover how to make a cave and mining fully in our specific guide for this another time, so for the moment I'm just going to forage for mineral debris for 7 iron rocks. This quest only requires that we find 3, but we will require more to complete this quest efficiently. Once we've acquired our 7 iron rocks, I'm going to create a kindling. You may wish to make several here since it's easy to fail creating a campfire, and a failure will use up some of the volume of the kindling, reducing its weight to a point that it will need to be combined with a fresh one to try again. To combine items, you can activate one in your inventory and then right click and combine with either a single other of the same item type or a stack of that same item type. We're then going to use our steel and flint on our kindling to create a campfire. Once our campfire is roaring, we're going to want to make sure it stays lit. We are going to then activate one of our logs or some of your wood scrap from earlier, select the campfire with it activated to burn it. This will add fuel to the fire and keep it burning for longer while we're smelting our metal. To smelt our iron in the fire, we're first going to need to open it and then drag our iron rocks inside. Because we're not using a purpose-built forge at this stage and our fire quality is low, it will take a few minutes for our iron rocks to get hot enough to turn into iron lumps, and a few more minutes to become glowing hot and become usable. You can tell the heat of an item in a fire by hovering your cursor over it, examining it, or by the little colored indicator over the top of the item icon. Eventually, our iron rocks will turn into iron lumps. These iron lumps will lose heat when they're taken out of the fire. If your lumps become too cold to work during this, just put them back into the fire for a few minutes to heat back up. To start our smithing journey, the first item we're going to need to create is a small iron anvil, which will require us to combine 2 of our lumps. By dragging our stack of lumps into the crafting window, we can use this button here to easily one-click combine the entire stack. Then by adding the mallet to the other window, it will give us the small anvil recipe. Our next task is to make a large anvil. So with our remaining iron lumps, we will combine them into at least a 10 kg lump before adding the small anvil to the other window and choosing the large anvil. Some items like large anvils are intended to be used outside of your inventory and when created will be dropped on the floor in front of you. To make the large anvil usable and add it to our crafting menu, we're going to right click on it while it's on the floor and select Add to Crafting window. We can then create a sickle blade by using an iron lump on it. Finally, to create the handle for our sickle, we're going to use our carving knife on a log to create a shaft. Then from that shaft, we're going to create a wooden handle. And once we have our handle, we shall combine that with our sickle blade to finally create a sickle. This will have completed our Mallets and Sickles quest. Before we head back to New Dawn, we should at least start the Sowing and Reaping quest. To do this, we're going to need to find some new resource nodes and look for seeds and vegetables. There are tons of different options for foraging and botanizing nodes, but remember to use lore on each and every one you find to help you learn what to expect and what to start looking out for. A side note here is that this is an easy way to find food when you're starting out. fruits and nuts will help keep your hunger bar full and your stamina bar replenishing quickly. Once you've gathered a bunch of vegetables, seeds, and other stuff, you should be ready to start your first little farm. Some things you may need to right-click on and select Pick Seeds to make it plantable. Once you have some seeds, you want to find a relatively flat location to plant your first couple of tiles of crops. If the terrain is too steep, you'll get the message the ground is not flat enough for crops to grow. To get the ground ready for sowing, you'll first need to get rid of any grass by using your shovel to pack the dirt. Once the dirt is packed, you can then select Cultivate. With our cultivated dirt tile, we will then have the ability to use our seeds and plant them in the dirt, creating field tiles. These field tiles will take multiple real-life days to grow, so patience is required. As a field tile grows, it'll visually go through changes, and while also stood in the field, you can mouse over the tile and see what the growth stage is up to. After each growth stage, we'll be able to use our rake on the tile and select the farm option to tend the crops. Tending your crops will help you increase your harvesting yield later on, and you'll be able to do this roughly once every 12 to 24 hours. You can tell if your crops are in need of tending when the crop rows are visually unaligned from each other, and when you mouse over the tile, it shows as untended. For now, while we wait for our crops to grow, it's a great time for us to return to New Dawn and turn in our Mallets and Sickles quest, or if you weren't able to complete the hunting season quest earlier, maybe you want to go out and do some exploration and hunt down one of those creatures. Before you leave your camp though, make sure to stash any valuables you've left on the ground inside your tent to stop them from being taken by other players in the area. Stuff like large anvils, clays, tools tend to attract sticky fingers if you're not careful. Once we're back in New Dawn with our 3 quests ready to turn in, we'll go speak with the artisan, select the Mallet and Sickle quest, and click Finish. As a reward for completing the quest, you'll receive a 20 quality hammer, 20 quality mallet, and a 20 quality steel sickle, along with 1 hour sleep bonus. We'll then accept the 2 new quests that have appeared, Lighting Your Way and A Place to Call Home. Then we will activate our meat and use it on the survivalists. This will complete the hunting season quest and will be rewarded with another 1 hour sleep bonus, 3 1 kilogram lumps of cotton, and 5 healing covers. Then, if it's ready, we can select the Finish on the Sowing and Reaping quest while talking to him, which rewards us with 1 hour sleep bonus and a 20 quality scythe and 5 cotton seeds. We shall then accept the Casserole for 1 quest, which will give us a fishing net. And that's how to get started in Wurm Online. In our next video, we will be covering off the next batch of quests, which will see us building our first house, digging our first mine, and cooking up some food. If you found this video at all useful, make sure to leave a like, and if you have any questions, please take the time to comment down below. Alternatively, you can consider joining my Discord, where we have a dedicated Wurm channel where you can ask questions and share your progress. Thanks so much for watching, and until next time, happy worming.